It's fucking fire.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm joined again with Ed and Greg through Discord. Say hi.
What up, guys?
All right. Today, because Yooka-Laylee came out last week, I want to talk about um, crowdfunded games. All right. Yooka-Laylee, had been in development for a few years, and people were really excited about it. It's the quote-unquote spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. And so a lot of people who grew up playing those games were really excited to play this one. Some of the game developers from Banjo-Kazooie were making Yooka-Laylee. Now, the funny thing with this is that it was crowdfunded, meaning I don't remember which one it was, but on one of those websites, their fans just paid them to make this game. And the reason why I want to bring it up is because it isn't doing too well. On Metacritic, it has a meta score of 73, so a 7.3 out of 10, and it has a user score of 6.3 out of 10, which in my opinion is probably the more real score, the user score, because these are the people that have been waiting for this game, and it's not living up to their standards. So this game isn't doing so well, and it had a lot of hype behind it. And another one very similar, a crowdfunded game, is, as you guys probably can remember, Mighty Number 9, which came out last year. And this game is trash. I don't think anyone thinks this game is good or even average. Like, everyone pretty much agrees this game is trash. This one has a user score of 3.5 out of 10 at a meta score of 52 or 5.2 out of 10. So these two highly anticipated spiritual successors, because Mighty Number 9 is supposed to be kind of like Mega Man and made by the developer and creator of Mega Man, all right? And same thing goes for Yooka-Laylee, for Banjo-Kazooie. Two, genres and titles that were super good and super popular in the late 90s. Well, Mega Man even in like the early 90s, 80s and shit like that. But, popular when we were kids. And should have been great today. I can go back and play like Spyro the Dragon and whatnot, and it's still fun for me. Like, I still have a great time playing Spyro, playing Crash Bandicoot, playing all these other games. So it's not the style of game, but these games suck. And before I get into why I think they're bad, like, do you guys have any ideas why you think that these crowdfunded games that are built off of older, amazing franchises are doing so bad today?
I mean, for me, I think it's not a bad idea because in the end, like, the game might be a little cheaper. The business might not. Business runs on, the crowd's funding as well, but without, spending much more money than that they don't have, going in debt,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, that's one thing I see. But yeah, Greg, what do you think?
Uh, I looked at some of the games like Number 9 and Yooka-Laylee, and to me, the thing is, it's a crowdfunded game, which means they were doing like a Kickstarter to try to get all this money to be able to produce these new engines and innovate on their older designs. And I'm looking at them, and they really don't look all that much different, which leads me to believe they probably just rehashed the same old engine that the games were run on. They just updated it for the newer systems. And really, once you get past the nostalgia, without any kind of innovation, it just feels like a downgraded, rehashed piece of trash compared to what you used to play.
Yeah, I think both of you are really like nailing it, hitting it on the head. Like, um, that's basically what I was thinking. But I think it comes from a bigger problem, right? Like, it comes from the fact that they're crowdfunded to begin with, right? Kind of like what you were saying, Ed. So, for instance, when a big company like Sony is going to fund a game, or a game developer is going to you go ahead and make a game, or an indie developer makes a game, they're paying it out of their own pocket, right? So they have to make sure it's good. They can't just throw something together and put it out there. It's because it's not going to sell. This is kind of like the pre-ordering, right? How pre-orders are bad because you'll give a company a whole bunch of money and they'll release a broken or a crappy game. Same thing here, where you're crowdfunding, you're paying these developers before you even get a game. You don't even know if you're going to get it. They might not even finish developing it. And so they already have your money. Why should they make an amazing game at this point? You know what I mean? Like, hopefully they would have the decency to still try their hardest, but even if it's bad, how bad is it going to be for them? You already gave them $3, $4, $5 million. They throw a game together, sell it to you. Now they're just making more money because they're selling it. It's just like, cool, we just got paid to like do our hobby. It doesn't mean they're good at it. And I think they're totally cashing in on that nostalgia, like you were saying, Greg. And nostalgia only takes you so far. If the game is not good or there's no depth to it, like you were saying, like no innovation, then after the first level is done and you got your fill of nostalgia, you're just gonna be left with nothing. So I think all those things come together, and it really gets allowed because of the crowdfunding. Like, here's a few $1 million, make me a game. Then there's no repercussion. Where like if Sony decides to invest in a game, or Microsoft or Nintendo decides to invest in a game, they're gonna make sure it's good, at least somewhat good beforehand, and they're gonna say, no, we're not doing this if it turns out to be bad. Like look at Microsoft. Just this year alone, they canceled a whole bunch of games that people were waiting for, and they did it because they were bad. They're like, we're not gonna release them because they're bad. Sony does that too. Everyone does that. But because they're beholden to nobody and they already got their money, they can just release a piece of trash. And so I think that what we're all saying here is the reason why these games just aren't going to be good, because there's no incentive to be good.
No.
Yeah. And like, when a regular developer releases a game, they have to make sure it's good, because then that's what sells it. If a game comes out on Tuesday and it's trash, people are going to return it and other people aren't going to buy it. That's why they say don't pre-order, because wait till you know it's good. And same thing applies here. Like, don't crowdfund. I think this is kind of dumb. Unless they're like, I don't know, it's hard to even say. I was going to say if they're trusted, but these guys were trusted. The person who invented Mega Man, you know what I mean? And they release a trash game, like, that's just horrible. Now, that also makes me a little curious about the future, because do you guys know the Shenmue games?
No, I do not.
It originally launched on the Dreamcast, but as you know, the Dreamcast was kind of a failure, so it came out on other systems. I think you can get it on PlayStation. And it was really revolutionary. Like, a lot of games that we grew up on or that we play today, because this came out like early 2000s, are kind of based off of that game. I don't know how it stacks up today compared, like, if it aged well, but a lot of our modern like 3D storytelling type games are based off of Shenmue, or I should say Shenmue did it first. And Shenmue has one, Shenmue 2, and that was it. And I don't think they ever finished the story. So people for a long time have been asking for Shenmue 3. And I think it was last year or 2 years ago at E3, at the Sony conference, they had the creator of Shenmue come out on the stage, and he announced that Sony was partnering with him to make Shenmue 3, and they were also going to crowdfund for it. So this is a weird spot where it's kind of like half and half, where Sony is involved, but they're also crowdfunding the game. So that's interesting, and I wonder, because again, it's the same thing. It's banking on these older games that have a lot of nostalgia, that were really good back in the early 2000s, getting the original creator to make a new version of it, or in this case, the third one in the series, and their crowdfunding. The only difference is that Sony's involved. So this could be really weird. You know, to me, I think because Sony's involved, it won't end up like Yooka-Laylee and Mighty Number 9. But at the same time, the fact that it's crowdfunded and they don't really have to answer to anybody, you just give them their money and hope for the best, it could also be pretty trash. What do you guys think?
I think that's interesting since, Sony's involved. You would think that, maybe they might put in more than, crowdfunding. Maybe it'll make the game cheaper. I don't know, but that just seems, I don't know. Sony has a lot of money, Why would they want other people like? I don't know. That's how I see it. I just can't explain it. I was just a little confused about that.
That's what a lot of people were saying. That because when they did it on stage, it confused the hell out of everybody. Because I was like, oh crap, Sony's gonna help make Shenmue 3. We've all been waiting for this for like 20 years. And then, at the end of the conference, they're like, here's the link to the GoFundMe or whatever it was. Go pledge your money to the game. And it was like, wait, did they only showcase them to give them like publicity for the Kickstarter or whatever, or is Sony involved? Like, what's going on? And so, we know now that Sony is involved and is partially funding the game, but we don't know how much they're involved with it. If they're hands-on, if they're just making sure it's up to their quality standard, or if they're only going to do like marketing and they're like, we'll market your game and we'll take this much percentage, but you can only develop based off of the crowdfunding. And so I'm pretty sure I'm kind of leaning towards that because they had a whole bunch of like Kickstarter goals to hit. And so it looked like Sony wasn't really putting a lot of money in for the actual development, but hopefully they keep up with the Sony standard. In my
opinion, it just
Go ahead.
in my opinion, it sounds like a win-win for Sony, because even if the game does turn out bad, they didn't even invest that much money into it, and even if the game is good, they still get money either way,
Yeah, exactly. I only want to bring up one more thing about the Shenmue thing is what's it called? No Man's Sky. Sony was in bed with Hello Games. They helped them with the marketing, but didn't help with development or anything. And everyone thought that game was going to be the end all be all of video games, and it wasn't even average. That game was bad. And so, if that game never happened, I'd be pretty excited. But because of that game, it makes me worried. It makes me worried that Sony's going to do the same thing like you were saying. It's a win-win. If it turns out good, they make money. If it turns out bad, they still make money. So, but then the people who made the game look bad. Like Hello Games is in a really bad spot, and it's been, a long time since then, and they still are in a bad spot. And so if this game goes bad, Sony can just say, oh, we only did the marketing. That was all them, And but if it does well, they can just say, hey, we helped that. Yeah, but Greg, do you have anything else to add?
No, just mostly that especially recently, a lot of game developers have been trying to create a nostalgic feel through their game development and output, because look at what's been released for like iOS recently, that iOS and Android being like the most widely used
gaming platform,
but it's the most used mobile, like actually moving around system.
Yeah.
Pokemon Go, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, like
Mario.
Like they're trying to utilize really large nostalgic franchises, most of which are still existing right now, and just piggybacking off that, releasing pretty much just a rehash system of a lot of older things. Pokemon Go, in my opinion, wasn't really that good. Like it got people moving, I guess, but it wasn't really that good.
Yeah, I got Ricardo moving.
See, Greg, I think you bring up a really interesting point I didn't think about, but it makes a lot of sense. That a lot of these older titles, kind of like how movies get remade like every 20 to 50 years, like it seems like that's happening with video games too, because not just in the mobile space, but
Yeah.
even on console, like Ratchet and Clank. Last year, Ratchet and Clank came out, and that was a really good game. And then also in May, Crash Bandicoot is coming out again. They're remaking Crash Bandicoot. And you already covered like Mario and Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and even Fire Emblem on the mobile side. And so I guess what it really boils down to, because these are all examples of nostalgic games, but some done well and some done not so well. I think it comes down to that standard and who that standard, like, are you accountable? Like Mario has to make money. Ratchet and Clank has to make money. But these games, since they're, crowdfunded, which is just, I would say like a long form version of pre-orders, they don't have to make money, so they can be bad.
Yeah.
It's that less incentive. Like Nintendo has their quality that they want to keep. And the same thing goes for like Sony when they have Ratchet and Clank come out. And I'm pretty sure that the Crash Bandicoot games are going to be fantastic when they come out. And it's because like they all have to make money after the fact. Like you were saying, they go into debt to make the game. Now they have to make more money than they put into it. And so it's got to be good. It's got to have a high standard. All right. Any last remarks, or is that it?
That's it, I think. Greg?
Yeah.
No, I'm good.
All right, guys. Comment below what you think about Yooka-Laylee, Mighty Number 9, and any other nostalgic game. And we'll see you next time. See ya.
Peace.
See you guys.